Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back to join another homesteading webinar. These last couple of weeks, we've been focusing on a couple little sections of the homesteading avenue. And today we're going to continue with our Homesteading 101 series. But today is all about seed planting. What are you doing in your garden for seeds? What varieties do you want to plant? How do you want to plant them? How are you going to maintain them? And how are you going to deliver them to your garden with the best success possible? So if you guys are ready, we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive into the webinar. Thank you guys very much for coming. We really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing in your community. Thanks for checking out our socials, all the engagement we're getting, all the love. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We have got a huge announcement for you guys. We are doing our very first ever giveaway, and I'm really excited about this. I'm sure you guys have noticed a lot of other companies and all sorts of industries doing giveaways like this. We decided, hey, we might as well jump on board and return the love that you guys are showing us via this giveaway. So we got a bunch of really exciting things that we're going to be giving away during this giveaway. This is the Seeds of Abundance giveaway, and that's really what it's all about. We're focusing on starting seeds because that's where the foundation of every good garden and every homestead begins. So the first thing that we're going to be giving you guys is 24 vegetable seed bundle. A bunch of different packs of seeds. This is a nice bundle from our friends over at Victory Gardens. Victory Seeds has an amazing collection of seeds, and I highly recommend you guys go over there, check them out, or go over to our page, backyardfarmingsupply.com, where you can check out all the different seeds that we've worked with, specifically with Victory, to bring to our green thumbs and backyard farmers. We're very excited about this. This is the first of many. There's a lot more to come, but we need your support to be able to make this happen. So go on over there and get yourself a pack of seeds. But while you grab yourself some of those seeds, also check out some of the other things that are in this bundle and check out this giveaway in general. There's a lot of different ways that you guys can get entered into the giveaway, and also learn more about your gardening system and setup in general. So this is actually a system that we're going to be giving away here. Obviously, it starts with the seeds, but we're also going to be giving you 8 clone domes. We're going to be giving you our favorite iHort Q seedling plugs, which are a pre-compressed plug that has no mess and does not create any issues in your systems via perlite leaking out or anything like that. We're also going to give you guys a Key to Life fertilizer bundle. The Key to Life nutrients are absolutely crucial to our success here in the Backyard Farm, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know about our roots with Key to Life nutrients. We're also going to be giving you a 1-hour garden design consultation. So if you guys are like, hey, I want to start my homestead, I want to start my backyard farm, but I have no idea where to start, this is a great giveaway for you. And if you're curious in general, feel free to hit us up at Backyard Farming Supply, drop us a DM on any of the social platforms, or email us at connect@byfsupply.com. This is really important. The 1-hour free garden design consultation is exactly that. We take into account what you want to grow, where you want to grow it, how you want to grow it, who you want to grow it for in your family with specific dietary wants, needs, and cravings, and also maximize your system and setup in a systematic and or conveyor belt fashion so that it's easy peasy when it comes to gardening, moving things from one station to the next as you start and you go throughout the gardening system and you end at the outdoor harvesting station or outdoor kitchen. We can help you to design all of this. Hit us up. We welcome you guys and your feedback. On top of that, going back to the actual bundle, we're going to be giving away a seedling rack and some LED lighting. So typical 4 foot by 2 foot type of space that you need for something like this. It's easy for almost anybody to do in any type of format, whether you're in an apartment, whether you're in a small house, a big house, all the way to a farm and a homestead. 2 foot by 4 foot is a pretty easy size rack for you guys to be able to fit into whatever scenario you want to put it into. So this is going to be absolutely amazing. And a lot of you guys have seen this. If you go check out some of the YouTube videos and the links in description down below, where we're talking about our seed starting room and our seedling racks over at my house at the Backyard Farm. So this is an amazing chance for you guys to turnkey grab one of these assemblies or to win one through our giveaway today. So this is really, really awesome. Further, we're going to give you the knowledge to be able to run this system. Whether you're growing in domes or easy clones, or you're using LED lighting, or you're dealing with temperature and humidity fluctuation, our seed starting blueprint masterclass, specifically from Backyard Farming Academy, is going to be a huge tool and advancement for you guys. We came to the table proper with this. It is very extensive. It has a lot of other educational things that come into play that teach you a lot about your seed starting space. And go over to byf.academy if you're curious about the seed starting blueprint. There's some teasers that we've got over there for you. And any purchases, we really appreciate. It helps us to fund what we're doing here. Because at the end of the day, we're here to give you guys knowledge, systems, products, and tools. But if they're not being purchased, or if they're not being shared and talked about, it really makes it a lot more difficult to continue funding and creating this content. So we really appreciate all the love and support and the purchases that you guys are doing over at byfsupply.com. There's also going to be an easy clone, low profile, 128 site white cloning unit that we're going to be giving away in this bundle. This bundle has a $6,500 retail value. This is absolutely amazing. This is our way of giving back to you guys for all the love and support that you've given to us over all the years. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And this tees us up perfectly for the rest of our homesteading webinar series. This is week 2, talking about seed planting and just the basics, what seeds to choose, and tips and overall strategies. But in the future weeks, we're also going to be talking about station planning, system planning, and overall optimizing your homesteading experience right from the get-go. We've been doing this for almost 20 years at this point. I myself have been in the professional gardening side of this industry for over 15 years at this point. So we want to bring all of the different things that we have learned, all the roadblocks, all the barriers, all the tripping points to you guys right here, right now, through Backyard Farming Supply and Backyard Farming Academy. Let's make your life easy. Let's not have you guys reinvent the wheel and go through all the stuff that we had to go through to get to where we are today, to bring it to you guys on a silver platter. Thank you very much. But we also have some other amazing and exciting announcements for you guys that make grabbing some of our products a lot easier. We have officially launched our Amazon page. Go onto our Amazon page, check out a lot of the different fertilizers, seedling propagation stuff, pumps, timers, reservoirs, pots, containers, labels, shade cloth, and a lot more that you guys can grab over at our Amazon page to make your life easy. Once again, we've curated a really amazing and simple list and bundle of things for you to be able to minimize the stumbling blocks in your homestead and your backyard farm. Why sort through thousands of products when you can just sort through the best ones that go straight to what you need when you need it on an easy ordering system through the world's largest marketplace, Amazon. Thanks for the opportunity to work with you guys. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to servicing a lot more customers and turning homesteading, backyard farming, and providing high nutrient density produce to your family. Let's dive in. But before we dive in, we have got to give some credit to some homesteading heroes. There's a couple people that have set the foundation for us going back a long time ago. Now, obviously, homesteading used to be a lot more common than it is now today. And we've got to give thanks to a couple people for not only setting the example back then, but also helping to drive the mission nowadays. One really important person is George Henry Evans. He specifically advocated for free land access through the Homesteading Act of 1862, and he shaped the foundation of homesteading in America. And we could do a whole webinar just on these three people for what they've done in the homesteading industry. Just like Laura Ingalls Wilder. You guys might know her TV show the best, or some of her books, Little House on the Prairie. It's kind of funny to bring it back to the Little House series, but really when you look at it for what it was all about homesteading and learning how to be self-sufficient, how to feed your family, but also how to be a steward of the land that you're living on. And also, nowadays, an HGTV star, Ree Drummond. She modernized homesteading and making it accessible to all through her cooking show and online platform, as well as TV shows through HGTV, encouraging a much wider audience and embracing self-sufficiency overall. These people remind us that self-sufficiency, homesteading, and backyard farming used to be the foundation of the family. Just like we were talking about on last week's homesteading series, I think that one of the best classrooms for your family, for your kids, and for you guys to not only establish memories together, but to learn math, reading, writing, science, and a lot of skills that are taught in the school place can all be taught in the homestead and in the backyard farm. So we are very big into bringing this education and this piece of the family back, this setting that the family can really unite and be able to learn, but most importantly, be able to learn through the actions and through the accountability that we all take to be able to grow and establish an amazing backyard farm. So where do we start? Where do we start in all of these different things? Well, there's one really important thing that we need to take into consideration before we start our backyard farm, and that is knowing your zone. Because knowing your zone right off the bat tells you what type of plants you can and cannot grow. You guys have heard me say it a bunch of times, and it's unfortunate, but here in Colorado, broccoli is just way harder to grow. So are we going to go and buy a whole bunch of broccoli varieties and have 80% of our garden be broccoli here in Colorado? Probably not. Why? Because those plants don't grow very well in the zone that we have here. Now, it depends on the year. There's certain years you can pull off broccoli in Colorado. But in general, knowing your zone is a great place to start. And typically, knowing your zone really comes down to, if you're trying to Google it, using and knowing your USDA hardiness zone. That's going to allow you to plug in your city, your county, and your state, and that's going to give you your zone. And once you've got your zone, now you've really got a lot better idea of your target planting dates. Now, once again, in certain climates, you have more seasons. In Colorado, we generally have less seasons because we've got about a 120-day grow cycle here in Colorado, maybe a little bit longer depending on the year, but you can count on that 120 days. So it right off the bat shows you what varieties you should be focusing on, and your plants will thrive in specific climates. But knowing the climate is the most important part. If you've been in the house for a couple of years or this location, you've probably seen all different types of weather, even during those same specific seasons. Once again, this is just a guide, a rule of thumb for you to be able to assess what grows best in your general climate. Then leave it to Mother Nature to throw the curveballs at you. But that's where tuning in our future webinars is going to be really important about our systems and our stations. But moving forward beyond your zone, this is kind of what you're going to see a map look like when you're looking at your different zones. And once again, look at Colorado. You've got green, you've got yellow, you've got blue, you've got dark blue, you've got purple. You've got all these different zones. Myself, I'm in Denver, Colorado, and our zone is 5B. The 5B zone is a good zone. It could be a lot worse, but it could definitely be a lot better. We're jealous of our friends over at Epic Gardening because of their 10A zone and where they get to garden all year long. So if you guys haven't, make sure you go check out some other YouTubers and some other podcasters in this same category. We're all in the same boat. All of us believe in giving and providing you guys one thing: how to feed your family, how to teach the world how to grow, how to teach the world how to feed themselves and their family for the rest of their life. And more importantly, how to create systems that allow your gardening to be much easier. But speaking of, once we look at our starting seeds, we're really going to look at a couple variables that are going to make starting our seeds a lot easier and a lot more consistent. The first is optimal temperature for germination. Now, obviously, if you're in an environment or a seed starting station or a seed starting scenario where your temps and humidity are skyrocketing and ping-ponging all over the place, it's going to make your journey a lot harder. So I definitely recommend to find the most flat temperature and humidity area to pop your seeds instead of your seed starting station. This is really, really important. Also, knowing the number of weeks before your last frost or your targeted planting date is extremely important. This lets you know, okay, my targeted planting date a lot of times here in Colorado is June 1st. This year, because I'm growing so many seedlings and I've got the ability to replant via extra seed population and seedling population, I'm actually going to adjust my targeting planting window for 1 month earlier than I normally do. And that is going to be May 1st. Now, I've seen certain Mays that we had snow and -10. Last May was perfect. It was a little bit rainy every day. It was patchy, shady, and sunny days, but we had no rain and we had no nasty weather that would have prevented us from actually sprouting our seeds and getting those seeds out into the garden 1 full month earlier. And that 1 full month is huge, especially if you get blessed with a nice sprinkly, rainy, and light sunshine month. It can really advance the rest of your gardening season tremendously. So wish us luck. Mother Nature, come on, you got our back. But we're going to be starting and targeting our planting date for May 1st this year, which is a first for us in our backyard farm. That gives us an idea of some types of crop, whether it's things like broccoli or cabbage or parsley, or even our traditional tomatoes and peppers. Maybe we want a bigger, badder, more healthy tomato and pepper plant. Well, that means we're going to give it a little bit extra time in our seedling station. And that means if a typical seedling station time is, let's call it 8 weeks, maybe we want to give it 12 weeks because we're going to actually transplant and we're going to up pot and allow it to be more of a vegetative grow room versus just a seedling start station. Now we need to account for that extra time period before our targeted planting date. So if our target planting date is May 1st and we want to sprout our seeds 12 weeks before, that is 3 months before. So that is March 1st. March, April, May. Oop, did I make a mess up there? Is it February 1st? You know, it's funny when you get into these podcasts and your mind's all over the place. So I'm going to leave it to you guys. Without using myself as an example, you can use charts like this for all these different types of crop. Now, mind you, usually these types of chart are only about sprouting seedlings and having a nice healthy seedling, let alone uppotting and transplanting and allowing our seedlings to become vegetative plants. This is where the magic happens. We get a bigger root mass and we get an overall bigger plant to allow us to go out into the backyard farm with much bigger plants that reach fruiting and flowering much earlier, speeding up our time to start doing what we all love most, eating these delicious plants, these delicious vegetables and tomatoes and herbs and leafy greens and all the different things that we're planning to plant in our garden. So, but as we do that, another big benefit of having a vegetative space, maybe it's the exact same space. Maybe it's another 2 foot by 4 foot rack right next to our seedling rack that's only 2 levels instead of 4, where we can actually uppot. Because what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to keep track of our variations in climate and soil conditions. This is really important. Maybe we're having an off year. Maybe it's snowier, longer. Maybe it's sunnier, earlier. All of these different things are going to allow us to know our climate better. And that is ultimately going to allow us to have a better garden. But before we get into better gardening, make sure that you go grab the Seed Starting Blueprint over at byf.academy. We're running an amazing deal on it right now. We put over 10 months of work into this course, and we are selling it for a mere $27.99. This is a very affordable price for you guys to be able to get the Backyard Farming Academy Seed Starting Blueprint that teaches you all the different terminology, all the products, all the equipment, all the pro tips that you guys are going to need to have the best homestead or backyard farm that you've ever had. So we are here to learn with you, and we're here to be in your corner. If you guys ever have any questions throughout this journey, hit us up. We would love to hear from you guys. But moving forward, we are going to keep rocking and rolling, and the next thing is choosing your seeds. And a lot of times this is what we all get super excited about during winter. During the winter time when we're like, hey, you know what I didn't get to grow this last year? The black strawberry tomato, or the Kodiak dwarf tomato, or the whatever blank variety that you didn't get to grow this last year. Well, keep that on your radar, and as you go through the gardening season and you're like, hey, I could have maybe squeezed in some more beans. I could have maybe squeezed in some more carrots. I could have maybe actually grown corn, and I didn't think I was going to because I've got a spot that would fit a nice little corn patch perfectly. Whatever it is, choosing seeds for your garden is usually one of the most exciting parts that really has us looking forward to spring. Whether you're growing leafy greens, fruits, vegetables, or you're even going and buying some new fruit trees, this is an amazing time of year for us to optimize our variety selections for next year, and choosing your seeds for your garden is one of the most important things. And it's one of the most exciting. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, especially if you've never gardened in this space before, or you're adding some additional gardening features or systems, make sure you calculate your available planting space. And when you're looking at these planting spaces, also think about your companion planting opportunity. Like here recently, I was on some of the Facebook groups like Gardening Enthusiast and Gardening Tips and Tricks. and a couple others. And I see people now are starting to do their garden planning and their spreadsheets and their grids and their rubrics. And sometimes people actually lay out entire dedicated spots in the garden for things that are great as companion plants and can really double up the value add and the real estate in your garden space during planting and during growing in general. Like radishes and even some types of legumes are perfect to grow underneath your tomatoes and your pepper plants. And now you've got an amazing companion plant. You've got an amazing opportunity to really maximize yield per square foot, because you're not growing just one crop. Maybe you're not even growing two crops. Maybe you're growing 3 or more crops in that same square footage. And this is absolutely massive. Your garden has limited space, and you want to maximize and optimize that space. And you also want to ensure that you have the right plants and the right space that they need. So measure your available planting area, whether it's raised beds, vertical towers, bean tunnels, or in-ground plots, and remember spacing requirements, plant varieties, and companion planting varieties for you to really be able to optimize your gardening space. And as we keep moving through our presentation here, I got to give some props to some of our sponsors and some of our vendor partners. We have teamed up with Victory Seed Company, and we really appreciate the varieties of dwarf tomato that they are bringing via the Dwarf Tomato Project. Thanks, Victory. We appreciate it. This is an amazing opportunity to bring all of these amazing dwarf tomatoes, because I don't know if you guys have been watching our Instagram lately, but I am done growing indeterminate tomatoes. Dwarf tomatoes for Colorado and my time schedule are where it's at. Are you guys sick and tired of trimming tomato plants all year long? Well, I am too. I always sat there and watched these indeterminate tomatoes keep growing and growing and growing, and some of them put out a lot of flower and fruit sites, but some did not. And you sit there and you wonder, what happens if I was able to take all of this effort that I'm putting into trimming these plants and put it somewhere else in my garden, but also if those plants were able to put all that energy from growing a gigantic vine and a bunch of leaves all year long straight into actual flower and fruit production. Well, that's what the dwarf tomatoes do. And that's why we've teamed up with Victory Seeds and the Dwarf Tomato Project. We want to bring you guys easy to grow, high yielding plants that require less maintenance versus more. So, diving further into seed selection, you want to take a couple considerations into play. First off, what are your family favorites from all the years that you've gardened? Or maybe some of the family favorites from the grocery store. Those are definitely some things that you want to focus on, because no need to reinvent the wheel and no need to retrain your taste buds. If you love Sun Gold tomatoes because of their delicious, mouth-watering, fruity profile, keep growing Sun Gold tomatoes. At the end of the day, this is about you, your family, your palate, your diet, and your dinner table. So, maximize and optimize your seed selection to your dinner table and to your family's needs. And always start small, experiment a little bit every year, and think about diversity. What type of diversity do you want in your garden? Like tomatoes are a perfect example. At the grocery store, you see 2, 3, 4 types of tomato, and that's it. Well, there's over 45,000 different types of tomato bred and offered in seed varieties for you guys. So even if you just want a whole tomato garden and you're like, I just love tomatoes, well, this is your chance to grow 100 varieties of tomato and blow everybody's mind. Now, I personally am all about diversity in every way, shape, and form, so I want to grow as many things as I possibly can, and even some new things that my family doesn't really eat, and might be even something that is curious that we may or may not fall in love with, but we've gone through the beautiful growing opportunity to learn a new variety. And new varieties of seeds come down to seed types. So when we look at seed types, the first two things that we always hear are heirloom and hybrid. Heirloom are the older varieties, and sometimes these even can be naturally hybridized varieties based upon old varieties that were crossed together. But heirloom seeds carry the stories and opportunities of our ancestors. The heirloom varieties are preserved for generations, and they're usually open pollinated varieties. But usually they have the most unique flavors and diverse traits that are not as predominant in our hybrid varieties. Hybrid varieties are the result of carefully controlled cross pollination, a specific goal or target in mind. How do I create a Carolina Reaper Aconcagua roaster? You guys are going to find out later this year, but that is an example of a hybrid variety, a very purposeful, thought out, and a very specific goal for our breeding opportunities. They often boast increased yields, disease resistance, and specific desired traits. They're consistent performers, and they appeal to commercial growers, usually because of their high yield, their high vigor, or their lack of pest and disease that they acquire throughout the growing year. However, hybrid seeds typically don't produce true to type offspring. And usually these result in an F1 type of hybrid variety where the first generation is going to be a lot more stable versus if you save seeds multiple generations in a row off of a hybrid, you're usually going to have a little bit more of a smorgasbord that you've got to deal with and a lot more biodiversity that is ultimately going to create some difficulties for you to project the exact type of variety that you're growing, because F1s grow pretty linear and pretty stable. F2s, 3s, and 4s without specific controlled breeding put into play will throw a much more diverse set of progeny and offspring. This ultimately does not give you the projected growing crop that you were looking for. But another couple of types of seeds are open pollinated. Open pollinated seeds are naturally pollinated by insects, wind, or birds. And once again, open pollinated is a type of pollination that can go into heirloom and hybrid varieties. Now, usually hybrid varieties are bred indoors, but open pollinated offer the ability to save seeds and continue their unique genetic heritage with much less phenotypic and genotypic variety diversity. Another thing to consider is the adaptation to your local environment, leading to stronger plants, which ultimately gives you more affordability and contribution to seed diversity. Now, the last type of seed, and there's a lot more types of seeds, but to keep it very general with these four categories, the last one I feel is probably gotten the most publicity and probably has the most hardcore opinions attached to it. And without getting onto the science side, I just want to talk about what GMOs are. GMOs are genetically modified seeds, and they've usually undergone alterations in the lab and or foreign DNA from other plants or even animals inserted into these seed types for specific reasons. Maybe it's to withstand a pesticide and that main chemical, or a fungicide, and that main type of bacteria or fungi that could potentially take over plants. But now they've inserted foreign DNA into it to give it a little bit more withstanding power. Now, obviously, you guys being backyard farmers and homesteaders are probably going to be staying away from this type of seed, and you're probably going to be hybridized. You're probably going to be going more toward a hybrid style seed or an heirloom style seed. And those are the ones that I would recommend so that I don't have to put on my tinfoil hat and start standing on my soapbox about GMO seeds. I bet you guys can agree, but when you grab any type of seed packet, there's some specific things that you're going to want to look for. And that is, what is all this stuff on the back of the seed packet? How do you read seed packets like a pro? Well, this is a really important thing because there's differences in terminology, there's differences in infographics, there's differences in all sorts of things when we start to look at the back of a seed pack. But thing number one is germination specifications. Is it germ rate? Is it days to germ? Or is it the cotyledon? Well, all of those three things refer to obviously sprouting seedlings, but they mean a little bit different things. Days to germ and germ rate vary because your germ rate is usually the percentage of population of seeds that's going to sprout. Let's say you sprout 100 seeds, 99 of them pop, that's a 99% germ rate. Versus days to germ is how many days is it going to take after you set the seed into the plug or on the soil and water it in and give it the love of Mother Nature before it starts sprouting. Some seeds are really, really quick and some seeds take a lot longer. So this is a very important thing for us to know the difference in terminology. And then something as simple as a cotyledon, which is once your seed is sprouted, what are those first very two leaves called? Well, the first two true leaves are called the cotyledon. And that has shown that your seed has taken and is going to start growing into a very young seedling and ultimately a big, awesome fruit or vegetable plant. Some other things that you're going to see is days to maturity. And this is going to vary all over the place as well, based upon vendor. Usually the days to maturity refers to the amount of days until it starts bearing fruits and vegetables. And with other vendors, it can mean from the amount of days that it takes for the plant to live out fruit, reproduce, and die. So these are two different ways to look at kind of the same thing, but ultimately I'm definitely more into paying attention to days to maturity, and that's where we can speed all of this up and get to plants that are fruiting and flowering and actually feeding our families much faster by paying attention to days to maturity. Some other things that we're going to see are lighting requirements. Lighting requirements like full sun or partial shade or full shade are really important to pay attention to because that's going to give you the exact planting location that you need for those specific plants. And at the end of the day, even if you've got a not perfect environment for those types of seeds or plants, there's all sorts of things we can do. Maybe it's trimming the big trees in our yard in general or at our homestead. Maybe it's actually planting in a different location. Maybe it's knowing based upon previous years where you thought was going to be a sunny spot ends up being a shady spot when it matters most, later in the afternoon. And some other things we're going to be looking at are planting depth. How deep do you want to actually plant the seed? Is usually what this recommends. So is it a 1/4 inch? Is it 1 or 2 centimeters? Every seed vendor has a little bit different ways to look at this. And once again, there's a lot here. And we go over all of this in we go over all of this information in much more detail and depth in the Seed Starting Blueprint over at byf.academy. Once again, on sale now for a very low price with a tremendous amount of educational materials and assets that is going to set you guys off right and set up your seed starting station using all the different equipment and products, or the methods and pro tips that we use to grow bigger, healthier seedlings with bigger, healthier root masses, which ultimately put way more food on the table. So go check out the Seed Starting Blueprint over at byf.academy, and we've got a lot more good news to come. Backyard Farming Academy is growing, and the instructors are growing as well. So we've got some new team members to welcome that are going to be giving you guys some future education, all in the Backyard Farming Academy. But let's keep going with seed starting. So seed starting is obviously a great joy for all of us, and I'm actually getting ready to start all of my seeds at my house in the next few days as well. So this is a good reminder and even an opportunity for me to optimize and refine some of our pro tips that we're going to be bringing you guys throughout the year. First, you're going to direct sow and start. First thing with seed starting is, are we going to direct sow or are we going to be starting indoors? Well, that is up to you. That's up to your seed starting station, and that's also all about the type of plant that you want to grow. Like beans or peas, for example. There's not really, in my mind, much need to start a bee or a pea in anything other than direct sow seeds fashion. Put it straight into the ground. You can even put it in the ground a little bit early and allow it to wake up when it wants to wake up based upon Mother Nature and it communicating with your seed as to the perfect growing conditions. Or are you going to start indoors? Is it a tomato plant or a pepper plant that you want it to be 2 feet tall by the time it goes outside? And nice, big, round, robust plant with maybe even a 1-gallon root mass. Well, that is where starting indoors is going to be best for you. So research each plant's need to determine the best method. And overall, starting seeds indoors gives you a lot of timing advantages, and it gives you a lot of forgiveness when it comes to your garden in general. And this is really, really important because not all years are created the same. Not all weather cycles are the same, especially in our changing climate. So how do we really maximize our seeds and our plants and our vegetables is going to be all about starting indoors. And that might even go into lighting. LED lighting, low wattage lighting, high wattage lighting. Low wattage is going to be for our seedlings, and high wattage is going to be for our vegetative plants. How about watering? How do we keep our soil moist but not soggy? How do we correlate our watering and our media with our temperature and humidity of our grow environment to hit that Goldilocks zone? And what about transplanting? What are the steps that we need to do before transplanting, like hardening off, whether it's the temperature and humidity swings or to direct sunlight? How do we do some of those things in the seed starting station indoors so that once they come outdoors, we're going to have a lot less die off and a lot more success? This is really, really important. And there's a helpful tip. Use recycled containers from maybe last year's garden, or things like yogurt cups, egg cartons, or even potato chips and cheese bags. If you're having a hard time making budget this year and you still want to grow your seedlings the biggest, best way possible, don't be afraid. Gardening is all about diversity. There's So many ways that we can skin this cat and that we can really allow our plants to grow faster for cheaper. But starting seeds indoors is ideal for cool season crops like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and even things like onions and shallots and even leafy greens can be started inside and taken outside. And the benefits are going to be massive. It gives your seedlings a head start. It gives them an opportunity to be protected from pest and disease, and ultimately also that you know exactly what's in and on these plants. This is really important because we've talked about it before, but a lot of times, whether it's our pest or disease or even the pesticides and fungicides that are in our plants that we're worried about come from big nurseries and big box stores. Why? Because they're growing a lot of plants 365, and they have what's called bioaccumulation. And more bioaccumulation actually leads to more pest and disease being present. And that leads to the use of more pesticides and fungicides. So the best thing about starting your own seeds is knowing what's in them and on them and having control over them for their whole life so that there's no weird hidden variables that pop up right as they start fruiting and flowering and actually producing. Some of the requirements that you're going to need for this are clone domes, seedling trays, seedling inserts, and labels. But it could go all the way up to 2 foot by 4 foot wire racks, timers, irrigation water reservoirs, air pumps, water pumps, and a lot of the other things that you can find over at our Amazon page. Check out the Backyard Farming Supply on Amazon if you want to minimize a bunch of your effort and just hone in on catered and tailored products and equipment that can maximize your seed starting efforts. So, we are going to talk a little bit about direct sowing. Direct sowing, like we talked about earlier, is best for warm season crops like beans, corn, squash, and shorter maturity time plants in general. Also, things that grow insanely rapidly, or things that when their tap root hits the bottom of a container, it's just going to stunt the overall growth of that plant for the rest of the year. Things like corn, for example. There's no real reason to sprout corn indoors, especially in plugs or pots. It's meant to direct sow. And when you direct sow it and you have the deepest taproot possible, that's actually going to correlate to the tallest corn plant possible. I think a lot of us have tried to plant corn indoors and left it in there for maybe a little bit too long, and you go to transplant it and it's got all these bound up roots and your taproot hit long ago, and then you transplant it outside and it maybe doubles in size, but it surely doesn't get 10, 12, 14 feet tall. Well, that is absolutely important for understanding the type of plant that we're growing, for the type of seedling that we're growing. Direct seed sowing can be your best friend or your worst enemy. So learn your varieties, learn your garden, learn your climate to really be able to get the best direct seed sowing results absolutely possible. This all goes straight to what type of soil and sun are you using? Soil and sun preparation. Soil preparation is all about testing your soil's pH and even basic nutrient levels. And a lot of this can be done with a simple analytical format and tool that we have over on our Backyard Farming Amazon page, like the little soil nutrient testers. It basically takes a little bit of your soil into water and you add certain compounds and it changes the color of water, and then it gives you a grading rubric to let you know, hey, this is your soil's pH range. Hey, this is the amount of N, P, or K that is present in your soil. And if you want to take that all the way further and send off your soil to colleges or soil testing companies, This is also a great thing for you guys to do during these slow winter months, and even while your seeds are sprouting and growing inside of your seed starting station. This is also going to give us an opportunity to look at our sunlight needs, our planting depth, and our spacing for all of these individual varieties and how we did it last year or how we might change it for this year. These spacing, planting, and sunlight requirement needs are crucial. Do not overlook them. And ultimately, people always ask me, hey, Tate, what type of planting spacing do you recommend more? What type of planting volume do you recommend more? Well, this is my pro tip. Full page. My specific pro tip for this is plant higher density. I am a huge fan of high density planting. Why? Because I'm in a backyard farm. I'm trying to optimize my plants. I'm trying to optimize my seedlings. I'm trying to optimize my diversity. So high planting density can be your best friend. It can also be your worst enemy, depending on the type of plant and depending on the weather conditions that you get. But in general, I like to steer people towards tighter planting versus farther apart planting. This helps even with things like weeds and water usage. Watering deeply and regularly, especially during hot and dry periods, is going to give your plant a better opportunity to stretch out and to bush out and to maximize. It's also going to give you a much more full plant canopy to shade soil from allowing those weed seeds that blow into the garden and or pop up from last year to actually taking hold in the garden. So high density fruit and veggie and leafy green planting is going to also give you a lot less weeds to take care of and manage throughout the year. And as you're growing your plants, don't be afraid to regularly remove your weeds and prevent competition for water and nutrients. But also using organic mulch to help you to retain moisture and to suppress weeds, but regulate soil temperature and moisture capacity. These are all really, really important things for your backyard farm. Make sure that you monitor your garden and keep a garden log and journal throughout the year to optimize your garden and its performance. And during those times, make sure you go check out the Backyard Farming Academy on Facebook and coming soon, other platforms. We're very blessed. We've grown this community to over 300 members in a very short period of time, and we hope to grow it to 3,000, 300,000, or 3 million members within the next year. So thank you guys for sharing this. Don't be afraid to share anything that you've learned, our pages, our videos, and or like and subscribe and comment to any of our social channels to get more direct engagement with us. And this is another area that you can go ahead and spread the word about the Seeds of Abundance giveaway. This is awesome. I'm so excited to be giving away the $6,500 value seed starting package, kit, and system, as well as education, so that you guys can have the best backyard farm or garden or homestead that you've ever had this 2024 season. Once again, we're giving away 24 seed pack bundle. We're giving away 8 clone domes, the iHort Q seedling plugs that we love and have used even in our backyard farm, as well as some Key to Life nutrients to be able to maximize your growth through organic, plant-based, carbon-based fertilizers that are good for you, your family, and the planet, but also our 1-hour garden free consultation based around designing your homestead and your backyard farm. Also, your seedling rack and your lighting, as well as the Backyard Farming Academy Seed Starting Blueprint, and further advancing even your aeroponic and hydroponic knowledge, skills, and giving you potentially even your first system, the Easy Clone 128 site low profile cloning unit. This is huge. This is an amazing package. We've got to thank Easy Clone, Victory Seeds, Keto Life Nutrients, iHort Plugs, and many more for helping to make this happen. We're excited for where we're heading in the future. The future is bright green. Hopefully you guys are joining us in the seed starting station, getting dirty and getting creative, instilling those memories and values with you, your kids, your family, getting excited for this year's dinner table. Also, during these seed starting opportunities and gardening opportunities, make sure you go check out some of our record keeping guides and logs. Whether you want a garden planner and logbook, or you want a garden journal and planner logbook, or just an overall vegetable gardener's handbook, we have all of the knowledge and all of the books that you guys are going to be relying on in your backyard farm over at our Backyard Farming Academy page, our Amazon page for backyard farming supply. This is a place where you can grab at easy access logs, journals, products, seeds, and all sorts of things to help your homestead be the best ever. Now, what is all of this all about, right? All of this is all about having the harvest of this year be the best harvest ever. Whether it's harvesting and picking the fruits and vegetables when they're ripe and at their peak mind-blowing flavors, sorting and preserving, or sharing and savoring your favorite crops and plants, not only during garden season, but all the way into February. I'm actually pretty excited. This morning before I headed over here, I threw in the refrigerator one of my Tegan Taco blends. It's already cooked. It's already ready to go. Just vacuum sealed, froze it, threw it in my freezer. Then the morning of that I want to make that dinner, I throw it in the refrigerator or into a thaw bin. Boom. That night I get to eat like it's the middle of the summer again. And it's amazing. So I am really excited to be eating some of my stored garden food tonight. And I highly recommend you guys to go check out the social channels to see Tegan's Tacos. Whoa. What happened there? But ultimately, guys, we want to leave you at the end of this podcast. These things fly by too quickly, with a little saying from Laura Ingalls Wilder, the creator of Little House on the Prairie: there's no place like home, especially when you've made it yourself. So what are you doing to make your home yours, to optimize your homestead, and ultimately to create a home that you never want to leave and that is able to suffice you and feed you throughout any of the crazy conditions that the world throws at you here in 2024. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting, and going and entering that giveaway. I'm excited. Who's going to win the giveaway? The Seeds of Abundance giveaway is live. Thank you very much. I'm Tate with Backyard Farming Supply, Backyard Farming Academy,